The dog days are different. We'll talk about how as we get you set for a couple of clinching possibilities tonight in the National League and American League playoffs. Plus, is it the end of an era? We've got that all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. So the Mets were underdogs in their series. The Tigers are underdogs in their series. The Padres are underdogs in their series. The Royals are underdogs in their series. And yes, these are the new dog days. These playoff series are allowing the underdogs to prevail. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to our Rangers podcast. John Radigan Rads, Abby Jones
Howdy.
Abs, Jeff Wilson, J-Dub, and the prophet over there. That's Jeremiah.
Elijah.
That's Elijah. I always say Jeremiah when I say prophet. Elijah.
Well, we know who John's favorite prophet is.
Yeah. I always say, somehow it's always prophet
Sunday
Jeremiah.
school days, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's Elijah. It's always been his name ever since he was born.
Why we couldn't rename him.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I can call his mom. We mind if we rename him Jeremiah? He does a great job
Just
getting
for
all
our
this.
show purposes.
Yeah, he does a great job getting all this stuff ready for us. We're glad to have him. We're glad to have you. Like us, would you please? Do you mind doing that? And subscribe and chat. I already see BC there. That's awesome. And I don't blame you, BC, for saying go Dodgers. We're going to get to that game. That was a heck of a game last night. We're going to talk about all of the games that went down in the last time this season that four baseball games will be played in one day.
Yeah, baseball season's almost over.
Yeah,
Makes me
gosh,
sad.
it makes me sad too.
I know.
It
It's
really
kind of a
does.
sad time. It is.
I was actually sad the last day of the regular season. I've never experienced end of the season blues. Especially when I was a kid, I was always kind of happy
Yeah, your dad
when the
was
season
coming home.
was
Yeah.
over. So this was in all of my 27 years. This was the first time that I was sad and a little bit emotional. But then I was like, hey, we've got the postseason to talk about.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a run. But yeah, it's a little sad.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. And I remember when I first moved here, and Jeff remembers this name, the one of the newspapers in town had a commercial they would run on the radio that said, for Jerry Fraley, the last day of the World Series is the saddest day of the year. And I thought, and God rest his soul, and became, good friends with Jerry later on in his time here, his second stint here. But anyway, I always thought, I don't know, there's other sports and this and that.
Yeah.
And then the closer I got to baseball and the more I've covered baseball,
It's
man, the
true.
more I get it, It's
Yeah,
sad.
you kind of have withdrawals. You don't. Yeah, as a beat writer, you don't really like. You have your nights free all of a sudden. It's like what's going on here? And
What do I do with
you
this
don't
life?
you don't know what to do. It's like you're sitting there, you're used to working or whatever, and it's like, oh well, I guess time for the kids to go to bed. I guess
Yeah.
I got to go do that now. And you appreciate how much your significant other, the load she carries when you're out at the ballpark until 10 or 11. Well, yeah, it used to be midnight or 1
Yeah,
before the pitch
I was going to
clock.
say.
Yeah.
And you know what's weird about that for me anyway, when the season ends, all of a sudden I'll go to bed at the hour of a normal human, right? Maybe stay up for the
Experience
news.
life
Maybe not.
in a different
right?
way.
But we're so used to,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you do it from writing too. At the end of a game, I broadcast for a half hour. I drive home for a half hour, and I'm like wound up. I'm not
Right.
going to bed. There's no
Yeah.
chance. So I'm up for another hour, and I'm scanning through the other sports shows to see what's happening elsewhere in baseball, or maybe even just taking a break. But the reality is, all of a sudden, like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Normally it'd be the sixth inning, and I'm tired.
No, I still can't go to bed before 11.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not possible.
It's ingrained.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I started working at the Fort Worth paper when I was 18, and deadlines were after midnight, and it's just never changed.
Yeah.
And once you got
Night
to legal
owl for
drinking
life.
age, you would go to the bars before I got married and be up till 2. And
Yeah.
if you knew the bar owner, you'd be up till 4.
3,
so
4. Yeah.
yeah, it's just I haven't lost it yet, but I'm willing to. I'm definitely willing to get more
Yeah.
sleep, especially when
Yeah.
our little alarm clock comes in at 5:55
You got a big birthday this year
in the morning.
coming
Our
up.
daughter came in today at 5:55, and that was it. We've been up since then.
Yeah.
We got to teach her how to sleep in.
No need to be sad because number 1, we are going to talk about the Rangers all off season long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 2, it was Clinchmas with the New York Mets
Oh,
yesterday.
it
Little
was.
Clinch.
Well,
Little
and we've
Clinchmas.
got to get this out of the way. Jeff's got to eat a big fat plate of crow. My crow not quite as big. Abs was 3 out of 4 in her
I'm the
picks.
winner.
Yeah, I
I,
went
uh,
0 for 4. I have no excuse. I
We know this.
was terrible, and that's fine.
Yeah, we know this.
So
And
maybe don't take your sleeper.
I was just going to say
suggestions.
he's going to talk about sleeper later. If he mentions his pick, I'm going to encourage you
opposite.
go the opposite. Just if he mentions.
Well, now sleeper is daily picks on players, not
outcomes.
team
True.
outcomes.
True.
So I lost my sleeper bets too, but I at least was I was at least far more accurate on those, and actually had an opportunity
shot.
to
You're
cash.
saying there's a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, not my best day.
That happens.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say I do think I am a good luck charm because when I covered the 2021 Braves, they won the World Series.
Okay.
Covered the 2023 Rangers, they won the World Series, and I made my picks yesterday. -1, which that was a great game. I'm not even mad that I was wrong about that because we'll get into how impressive that Dodgers victory was.
Yeah,
but
crazy. So, let's start though with the team that clinched, and that is the New York Metropolitans winning their first ever series at playoff series at Citi Field. I mean, that's
24 years.
That's pretty historic. Yeah.
I get they haven't been to the playoffs a ton because the Braves have been
Right.
so good of late. But it's always nice to clinch at home.
Yes.
It's fun. It gets
so much more
it gets
fun.
the whole city involved. And obviously the Rangers last year, 3 of their clinches were on the road.
Yep.
And people remember the Orioles series. Just smoked the Orioles in Game 3 of the division series and celebrated, and that was fun. And Houston, there were a lot of Rangers fans in Houston.
Yes.
And so a good chunk of people got to see it. And then Arizona, there's a good representation of Rangers fans there too, and a lot of club employees. So, but still, clinching at home, it's
Nothing like it.
Nothing like it.
No.
Yeah.
And how about Francisco Lindor? I mean, in these series, so he had the grand slam in the 6th, and you know that he was, I mean, that's the swing of his lifetime, and he got a hefty deal from the Mets back in 2021 that's going to keep him there until he's 38 years old, $341 million.
Yeah.
Paid off for Francisco Lindor with just a massive grand slam, and Alonso said that's literally going to be the swing of his lifetime.
Well, and it's interesting because you watch him. I watched some post-game interviews with him after the game, and he was saying, look, this is what I came here to do, right? This is why I'm here to do this. Of course, he went to the World Series as a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
So he knew, right? He'd had a taste of it.
That was a great series.
It
too.
really was. And you go to New York where money will flow, both Mets and Yankees, right? And he feels like, and look, right after he got there, was it 22 that they signed Scherzer and Justin Verlander?
Yeah. They were.
They were
Steve Cohen
loading
was
up.
all in, and boom, and
and that didn't work. And then it is kind of amazing how these things go sometimes, right? So at the trade deadline last year, they traded Verlander and Scherzer, both one back to Texas, the other to Texas. And I'll be darned if this team, that team, the Mets team, is kind of better in its current composition than it was with all that talent And look, I was going to say, and spending all that money, but they're still spending all that money because they're paying their guys.
And just because you spend the money doesn't mean that, the pieces are going to fit. But I read something pretty interesting on Francisco Lindor because he had a really cool moment last night. So his walk-up song is My Girl, which I think is kind of funny because I wouldn't
the
even...
old-fashioned My Girl. Okay, yeah.
Which I wouldn't even expect him to know the song. But it's his walk-up song. So they blasted that last night at the field after he won.
Yeah.
And his daughter ran out on the field.
Yeah.
And, he's
I was
a young
just going to say, I bet you My Girl has to do with this little girl, right?
Super emotional and just such a moment for him. But I did a little deeper dive, and it was pretty cool because there was a moment that it shifted for the Mets team. Because I don't think any of us would have predicted the Mets to be heading to the NLCS, when the season started. So back in May, they put Lindor at the leadoff spot, and then they went through a little bit of a losing streak, and they got swept by the Dodgers at Citi Field, and that was like a big realization for them. And Lindor actually called a team meeting, and it was a players only, and I just don't think that they thought he was capable of that level of leadership. And ever since that moment, something changed. I don't know what he said. Whatever he said apparently worked. The Mets are clicking.
They are.
I'm sure you appreciate this. If you watched the home run, he didn't throw his bat. Didn't
very mature, very mindful.
Laid the bat down, ran around the bases, and he knew it wasn't a wall scraper. It was leaving.
Yeah,
he knew he got it.
He knew the minute. Yeah,
but
exactly. And I actually wanted to bring that up yesterday, and we'll go back to a couple home runs that, like, one drove me kind of crazy, one drove me absolutely crazy, and that was like the Tatis Jr. thing. He kind of flipped his bat the other night when he hit a home run against the Dodgers at home, and there was all that emotion in that series. And then I don't mind his hop at third base because he's done it all year, right? I mean, that's a thing. I can get used to that, whatever. The bat flip maybe a little much. But the night before, Pete Alonso carried his bat to first base. I can't abide by that.
Polar bear.
He knew it was gone, and he's got to take it to first base and then slam it. Come on, man. I like the way, to your point, Jeff, I like the way that Francisco Lindor acted like he'd been there before.
Yeah. And, he's always smiling.
Yeah.
A guy that you kind of root for. He's never been in the middle of any kind of kerfuffle or anything, just kind of a ball player, and it wasn't great for him maybe that first season with the Mets, but he's obviously a great player. And to your point earlier about how they were loading up, when Max Scherzer was presented with the opportunity to come to the Rangers, he asked ownership or the general manager at the time, what's the outlook for next year? And they're like, we're not planning on being a contender next year, or we're not going to load up again in the off season. We're taking a stripped down version. So stripped down version worked out pretty good.
Yeah. Let's take a look though, because baseball players are superstitious. And speaking of Pete Alonso, they did beat the Brewers, and the Brewers have a track record. So what do you think of this, guys? Teams to eliminate the Milwaukee Brewers in the postseason all time. What does that make it to the World Series?
No, that's win.
That's win the World Series.
Win the World Series.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it does say make.
Make?
No, okay, so the 81 Yankees didn't win the World Series.
That's right.
The Dodgers won.
So it's just getting to the World Series, beating the Brewers at any stage of the playoffs.
What do we think of the trend?
I think it's somewhat amazing. I think it's sad for a Milwaukee Brewers fan. And as I watched the Philadelphia Phillies kind of tuck tail and leave from their, perch last night, I thought, and we should do a little more research and see, it seems like that's the Phillies now too. Like they lose, it seems they lose a lot with the team they shouldn't, that shouldn't be losing.
Yeah.
That team's got a lot of talent.
Well, yes, big payroll. The Dodgers are kind of in a similar boat, although the Dodgers at least won it a few years ago.
Yeah,
but and the Yankees are, they haven't won since 2009. So, it's always good to have the Yankees in the postseason.
Yes,
baseball's better.
Love it,
but it's also cool to have these other teams winning and
emerging
and competing and and taking on the giant and Goliath, I guess.
Yeah.
David versus Goliath.
David versus Goliath. Everybody loves that story. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
fantastic.
I guess a quick one. Who would you prefer the Mets to play in the NLCS?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, the Tigers.
No, the
No,
NLCS.
Oh, NLCS. Sorry. In the NLCS, I would say I don't really care, but I probably would say I'd like to see Coastal, right?
Yeah.
Dodgers, Mets,
Yeah.
right?
I'd like to see the Padres and the Mets. That's the matchup I want.
Yeah, and again, we have a tie there too with AJ Preller and a lot of other people on that team. And by the way, speaking of former Rangers, which I know you guys did a lot before I got back, and we've done a lot, but do you know who the Indians' third base coach is? I'm sure you do, Jeff.
Rougned Odor's uncle.
Oh, it's his uncle.
I believe it's his uncle.
Oh, because I just was listening on the way home yesterday, and they go, Rougned Odor waved him home, and I'm like, Rougned Odor?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so it's his
Jeff's
uncle.
favorite saying.
His name is
Rugless.
Rugless.
Rugless?
Yeah, there are a lot of Rugs in that family.
Rugi. Yeah, Rougned Odor. Yeah, because I was going to say I'd missed the chapter that Rougned Odor, not only was he coaching now, but he was already rising to the level of being a third base coach.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty good. Okay, so now we know. That's great. All right, so we got lots more coming up. We didn't even get to the other game that's on the board.
Elimination
Almost a clinch game. You know, it's going to be a clinch game today. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Yankees. We'll talk about the Dodgers. So much more as we continue. We want you to chat along as you've been doing. Coop, BC, thank you. Keep them coming. Everyone else, too, let us know what you think about us, and we'll do all that next on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. But first, how cool are these?
Ooh.
Huh?
Papa's got a brand new bag.
Look at me. These are my Shady Rays. And the thing that they told you, like they're indestructible. You know, you can't hurt them. These things are so light. These are called the Color Rush Shady Rays. They come in with a nice little thing. You can also use this, you know, to clean them off and everything. And it's a bag for them. Shady Rays are fantastic. This is a great product, and we want you to make this one of your favorite products too. First of all, they couldn't look more cool, could they? And secondly, you can have them, and they're not much. They're really not that expensive. So go ahead and get yourself some Shady Rays. It's fantastic and it's fun, and you can get $35 off your first Shady Rays purchase. Right there, 35% that is. 35% off the polarized. These are polarized. 35% off the polarized Shady Rays. You got to use the code DLLS.
Those are good, Rads.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So take that 35% and put it into a sleeper account.
Take J-Dub's picks.
Hey, my picks on sleeper are solid. All right. Anyway, sleeper, you know it for being the best fantasy platform out there, but now they're into daily fantasy picks where you choose, take your favorite player, your least favorite player, and choose will they have more or less than a projected stat. So anyway, last night, Aaron Judge was one of mine. Will he strike out more than half the time?
Yes.
Well, based on his postseason record, I went yes, and he did. So if you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Rangers to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational over 25 states, including the Lone Star State. Check out Sleeper today.
Wow, you should host an auction.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to obey the 2-minute rule.
It's the 2-minute warning.
I get it.
It's the 2-minute warning, baby.
Jeff.
Yeah. Let's talk Tigers. Tigers and I almost said Guardians. Tigers, Guardians.
Potential clinch miss.
Yeah, the Tigers have a chance to clinch at home. And I'm going to say this. Again, I expressed yesterday, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole chaos pitching idea.
Yeah.
But I picked them, which may have seemed a little incongruous. Like, why do you say that and then pick them? I picked them because I knew what that crowd was going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
I did too.
That was a 10th man, if you will, right? That was an extra player on the field. That crowd, it's such a great baseball town. And that crowd was going crazy. And people absolutely, you know, the players, they rode that wave of emotion. You know, they just scrapped out a couple of runs early. And then I did like the way AJ worked that. It appeared, and the way they were talking about it on the radio broadcast as well, you know, he goes with the he goes with the right-handed opener. But again, it's chaos. It's not traditional opener. It's not necessarily just one inning, So the Guardians go with this great big left-handed lineup,
Right.
and immediately after one inning, he goes to Herter.
Yeah.
Lefty.
Yeah.
And so, like on the radio, they're going, and I was actually listening to the Cleveland broadcast on Sirius XM. They go, well, he's certainly, he's not going to go. Stephen Vogt's not going to go to the bench this early. He's not going to. By God, he did.
Yeah.
He started pinch hitting guys in the second and third. There was somebody on the roster, in the starting lineup, who never got in at bat.
Oh, wow.
He got pinch hit before a bat.
That's funny.
So,
No, that's- I mean,
you know what? That is chaos.
The chaos
Exactly.
makes the other team operate in chaos
that's
too.
chaos.
But
Yeah.
it works.
It worked. Boy, it sure worked yesterday for the Tigers. Again, Cleveland's offense is obviously anemic. What is it? 20
straight innings.
20 innings.
20 scoreless
innings. Yeah.
With you got to score, right?
Franchise postseason record.
Is it?
Not a good one to have.
No, especially when you've been around as long as Cleveland has. Yeah.
Okay, so to set the scene for today, teams that are 2-1 with a game 4 at home, they have an 81% chance of winning. That's the Tigers. But then also the Guardians have the longest losing streak in an elimination postseason game in MLB history, dating back to 1997. I know the quick math, 27, because that's the year I was born.
Oh, man.
So that is a recipe, in my opinion, for a Tigers win.
That was the
Tigers
Marlins World Series. And then the Marlins blew up their team the next
After
year
that
as Blockbuster Video went out of business. So anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You don't have a ton of opportunities, but they've been pretty good. And then they had a chance in 2016, Lindor's second year that we were talking about, that great Game 7. When
that was
it looked like the Cubs were going to win it, and then they had in Aroldis Chapman, and then Rajai Davis, not known for his power, hits a 2-run homer to tie it, and the Cubs end up winning. But that was a good one. And the Guardians had some really good teams there. They just kind of ran into some difficulties, and I hope I picked them to go to the ALCS. I picked them to go to the World Series. So
win the World Series.
I kind of have to stick with them here.
Again, don't take Jeff's picks.
Boy, no kidding.
Well,
But
I felt good about them.
Okay, so also Detroit has won all 4 of their last 4 postseason elimination games dating back to 2012, and they outscore the opponents 22-3. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring, but hey, if you're the opposing team isn't scoring at all, you just got to...
You need one.
Right? One is
they
like
know
the magic
when Tarek
number.
Skubal's out there, all they need is one.
Yeah.
But it seems like even when, and again, he's not out there today.
Right.
He would be out there Saturday if the Guardians are able to manage and muster a win, or how about maybe manage and muster a run?
Right?
But
their reward is Tarek Skubal.
Yeah, that's it.
For
Now
game
you
5.
get to face Tarek Skubal.
Going back to 2010, the ALCS, that was the Rangers 1 and 6, or the Yankees, if it had gone to a Game 7, they would have had Cliff Lee. And I remember Michael Young saying after the game, yeah, we would have had Cliff Lee, but we wanted Cliff Lee for Game 1 of the World Series.
Yes.
So that's the thing. If the Guardians get beat today, if the Tigers can win today and clinch the series, they're going to have their ace for Game 1, and they potentially could throw him 3 times if he wanted to go in short rest or something like that, and or at least have him in relief for a game late if that series were to go long. So,
and no matter what happens, they won't have home field in that next round. So they'll, to gain an advantage when you're on the road, let's trot Tarek Skubal out there.
But this is going to be an interesting challenge for the Tigers, because this is the first game that they didn't have an off day. So where the pitching chaos works with, some time in between, Herter threw, 56 pitches the other day? Bo Brisky, 27. So there's going to be a few guys from that bullpen.
They only used 3 pitchers yesterday. Is that right?
I don't know.
I think they only used 3. I think Brisky finished it.
Well, there's going to be somebody making a first appearance in the series, is my point.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is, I get it, and I totally get your thought about all these, using these pitchers, using that many from a bullpen, because we know it. When you have a bullpen day, the next day a lot of times they're making roster moves because they're like, we got 5 guys down today. They all had to pitch yesterday.
Yeah.
So we've seen that a million times over the years. But I think the way, like Herter went in there, and look, maybe now we're dealing with bulk guys, right? Herter was the guy that was going to get the bulk of the innings, and he took him, and he did it. I was surprised it was only 56. He did it pretty efficiently.
No, I really like him. He's their sleeper, I think. He's always very dominant. He was huge in the Houston series. I mean, he's a pretty reliable guy from the bullpen. So
yeah. Well, and when the other team is not scoring, outs are generally efficient, and but and I wonder. Stephen Vogt's a rookie manager.
He is.
I do wonder if he had a little input on that from the front office on what to do in case they switch. Do you start pinch hitting right away? And maybe that's got to be part of AJ Hinch's strategy. Let's force their hand and see what they do. And if they don't pinch hit, then we stick with our guy, maybe. That's a tricky one, and do you just try to score early and then hold on? Is that why he went with the matchup lineup, hoping that they would get some runs against Montero there?
The other day.
But hey,
and it worked for the Indians in game 1, or the Indians. I said it again. The Guardians in game 1, right? I mean, they got 5 in the first, I think.
Worked so well, they haven't done it since.
No, they haven't scored since.
I'm really working on just eliminating the team mascot,
the nickname
in reference to Cleveland, because I keep saying
it. Keep doing
he really does.
Cleveland. And we want to get to the Dodgers and the Yankees, but I think we need to answer Natalie's question, Jeff. See why? Does he have a plan yet? Or does he have to wait and see what the budget will be? I don't think there's any doubt he's waiting, right? And again, this whole TV situation has a lot to do with it.
Well, last week on Tuesday was the end of the season press conference, and he said, I'll be meeting with ownership in the next week or 2. So that meeting's got to take place soon. I think we learned a little more about their path they're going to pursue. So hopefully they have an idea of money, but I'm sure they have a plan for the budget in various states, with the money coming off the books, maybe just right up to the luxury tax threshold as far as Ray Davis will let him go. Maybe with, if the TV deal's sweet, maybe they can go a little bit over it. And then, worst case scenario situation where you're trimming. So that's where trades are going to come in. And, you could see a guy like, Nate Lowe, John Gray, anybody making or projected to make 7 figures. Maybe those guys are pieces that have to go, but,
I've seen Adolis thrown into that group.
Yeah. And so hopefully that's not the case, but I'm sure there are contingencies. There's probably plan A through Z. They probably have 26 plans.
Because the reality is, I'm pretty sure there won't be any rights fees paid to the team. None.
Yeah. Oh,
they were getting 90 million last year, which again was 13-15 million less than they were supposed to get from Bally, but 90 million compared to nothing. And again, they're going to get money from the advertising revenue. Like the whole idea of the regional network is to make money on the network.
Yeah.
But you don't get rights fees. You get the money that is made by the broadcast.
Yeah. So
but at the there's no initial payment at the beginning of the year.
So if this becomes the example, Budweiser Rangers network, so there's naming rights deal that would probably last more than a season, and then maybe you pick up a couple million from American Airlines or the in-game Chevy.
That's what they're working on right now.
Underneath the hood player deal that they've been doing.
Yep.
So those will all add up, and then if the streaming service is theirs, they can make money on the subscriptions there. But to get the cable operators and streaming services, that's I don't know how that money works out. I'm sure they get a little slice of it, but they're not getting a $90 million slice.
No, it's gonna takes a lot of $20 subscriptions to add up to 90 million. 20. We did it, $20 at a time.
Holy crap!
So
let's see, that would be 4.5 million. No,
20.
A lot of math.
Yeah. Math is hard.
It is hard.
So if you know, tell us. Yeah, please. Yeah. Whataburger
The only math I
Rangers
do is
Network.
a
I
double
like that
play.
idea. The Whataburger Rangers Network, Ben. That's good. All right. Dodgers game was silly good. It was so much fun. We better, you know what? We better
We'll
hold
get into it.
Want to do it now?
We'll get into it.
We got to sell our ads.
We got to sell, and we'll do it after. All right. So we're going to talk about the Dodgers.
After.
We'll talk about the Yankees Royals a little bit, and also
it's an elimination game. We got to hit on it.
Yeah, we will.
Is it the end of an era in as far as starting pitchers go? I hope not. And Major League Baseball does too. We'll talk about that. Let us know what you think. We appreciate you chatting along, and it's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first.
All right. I'm a Bama girl, like I have said many times, so I'm very familiar with Rowback. It is the shirt of Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee. Very southern brand. I didn't even know that people knew about it out here, but they do. And they should, because it's some of the best performance polos that they make on the market. You can golf with your buddies. You can play tennis if you want to. I'm sure you could work out. You could go to a Rangers games in the heat, and they have a wicking fabric, so you're not going to be dying sitting
That's why
in
it's
a
very
stadium.
Popular in the South, right?
Yeah. And then they have a very cool game day selection. My friend has a Bama shirt, and it's got the little elephant and then the Alabama A. So there's plenty of designs for your favorite team. Maybe they even have an MLB collection. I haven't looked yet. But we have a very generous 20% off on your first order, and you can use the code DLLS20 to get that. Go to Rowback, RHOBACK.com, and enter in the coupon.
Oh, fantastic.
Easy enough.
Yeah, that's easy. So, look, we got to talk about the Die Hard experience for all of you. Ben, Coop, Natalie, Matt,
the merch
everybody.
is coming tomorrow, Ben said.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I heard Bobby saying that on the Mavs show.
Ben, I follow you on Twitter. You got to tweet me a photo now.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, please send us out your photos of you wearing the merch. And Ben's obviously already ordered. Make sure the rest of you do too. We really want you to get this merch. And if you become a diehard, guess what? You get it for free. Or get one of them for free.
Right.
And then you'll fall in love with it so much you'll want to buy more. There it is. Become a diehard. Get a free shirt. $35 value on the shirt. And looky there. You've basically paid for almost half of your membership to become a diehard. 20% off on trips, 20% off on the travel that we're going to do, 20% off on merchandise. There's so many benefits, plus everything that's behind the paywall. Become a diehard today. All right. Now the Yankees, Royals.
Oh,
Dodgers.
sorry.
We didn't get to Dodgers yet.
Either or.
Yeah, no, we got to go Dodgers.
Dodger.
That game was silly. Yeah.
Facing an elimination day, and they went to the bullpen.
Yeah.
I mean, pitching chaos for the LA Dodgers. Okay. Will Smith, catcher, caught 8 pitchers in yesterday's outing.
Man.
And they finished with a shutout.
It's amazing.
That's great baseball.
Yeah.
And Freddie Freeman was unavailable. He was scratched 2 hours before the start. I mean, when you're taking a guy like that out of the lineup, I do really respect Dave Roberts. He said, just because of a name on the back, I'm not going to put somebody, out there that's not 100%. We can win without Freddie. And they did just that. Actually, a Padres player said, when they take this approach and, just throw the bullpen and it's 1 inning per pitcher, it's so annoying. He said it felt like a spring training game that you really just, you couldn't get a read on anything.
Traction.
And seriously, the Padres, they were furious.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get a second look at the same pitcher. So you can't count on making an adjustment against the guy. When it's your turn to bat again, it might be 2 pitchers later. And the stuff's different. Their approach is going to be the same, but the stuff's going to be different. You're not going to get a look. And, all this pitching chaos and bullpen matchups, when the guys are getting outs, it works. When the other team's getting base runners on, that kind of screws with the bullpen game team's plans. Do they have to bring in guys earlier? Do they want to ride this guy out, give him a chance to face somebody with a runner in scoring position that they might not ordinarily do? But yeah, and the day off, knowing that there was a day off today, allowed Dave Roberts to do that and go to 8 different guys. And, but yeah, to what John wants to talk about,
Yeah.
What about the starting pitcher?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
And this is the kind of day, if the Dodgers had a game today, and Dave Roberts obviously knew they didn't, but if they have one today, just in a regular season, and were forced for whatever reason to use 8 pitchers yesterday, they'd be making roster moves.
Right.
There's just no way you can use 8 guys the day before and know that my starter could, have problems in the first inning today, and I'll need 8 more. I don't have that many.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why when you build a bullpen, you have to have internal guys who are young and have options.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that when this situation arises, you don't have to DFA a guy. You can just send him back to AAA and call up somebody else. So, there's not that in the postseason. If you have an injury, you can replace a guy. Then he's not eligible for the next series. He has to sit out the next series. But the off day just kind of fell perfectly for them.
Yeah,
and
worked in their favor,
on the other
no doubt.
side, and I was worried about this, the Padres started Dylan Cease on short rest.
Right.
And it didn't work.
Did not work out
He
well.
didn't make it into past the. He got 5 outs. He did not finish the second inning.
Yep.
And that kind of set them into basically a bullpen game.
Yeah.
And it just kind of a disaster there for the Padres. But they're not dead yet. They live to fight another day, so to speak. A game 5, an elimination game on the road is going to be tough. Dodger Stadium, I think is the largest stadium in the majors now.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, they can put more than 50,000 into that place. So it could be a good crowd.
It
should be a good crowd.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at what the Dodgers bullpen collectively did, because it was really impressive, and so impressive that it might even be their strategy for Game 5. Because Yu Darvish is listed as the Padres starting pitcher, but Dodgers is still TBD. They do have 2 options there, but I think that they felt that if this works, we might try it again. I mean, what are your thoughts? Is that insane?
Yes, I hate it. I want starting pitchers. I want to know who the starter is. And as a guy who likes starting, I want to go watch Yu Darvish, as we did many times, pitch 7 or 8 or 9 really strong innings and wow us with his amazing repertoire of various pitches. He throws so many different pitches. And not only does he wow us, he has batters walking away from the plate, shaking their head. That I love that about baseball. Yeah, I don't like spring training games. I know that's not what this was at all.
Yeah.
But that's how it was described by a guy who played in it. Right. I don't like spring training type games.
You love a pitcher's duel.
Yeah, except when my team, the Tigers, is doing it, and now I'm okay with it.
There you go.
But
chaos only works one way, and it's AJ Hinch's way, by golly.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Dodgers don't call it chaos. So I like chaos, but I don't like bullpen days. No,
that's funny.
I have a concern, and so does Major League Baseball, that the starting pitcher is going the way of the dinosaur. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday, Jeff, just how back in the day, as recently as Cliff Lee's games in 2010, we knew he was going 9 innings, right? We just knew it. And then in part with Nolan there, Nolan was always an advocate for the starting pitchers. Go 1 more inning than you think you can, right?
Yeah.
He came in. I remember Kevin Millwood going, whoa, Nolan, whoa, we can't. But Kevin did. Kevin's a great guy.
Yeah.
I love Kevin.
Yeah, I love Kevin. And but nobody thought they could do it. And Nolan knew they could. And so he really pushed that a starting pitcher should be going more than 6 innings. And I saw somebody today saying, well, we all want to go 6 innings. Yeah, they do, but most of them don't.
Yeah.
Anymore.
6 innings, you said, like Colby Lewis would be disappointed with 6 innings.
Yeah.
These guys always wanted at least 7.
Yeah.
That way, if it's 7 and you're in the lead, ideally your 8th inning guy, your closer, bing, bang, boom, the game's over. Saves the bullpen, all that stuff. And man, you just, you see guys these days who come out after 5 2/3 and get a standing ovation. It's like,
right. Yeah. And
let's chill.
And the reality is that the average length of time that a starter stays in the game across Major League Baseball continues to drop. It dropped last year from 5.67 per game to 5.25, so basically right at 5 2/3.
That's a pretty big drop, yeah.
That's a big drop in one season, right?
That really
and
is.
And it's why is it? it's because analytics, right? It's because the guys who are crunching numbers go, again, we can't let this guy see anybody for the third time. It's, I fear eventually it's going to go, we can't let these guys see somebody for a second time, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly you won't have starting pitchers. And look, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you who wants that less than anybody in this world. Starting pitchers, right? Because they get paid so handsomely, and they don't want to see the starting pitcher, as it were, go away. None of them want to be a bullpen piece because you can't make near the money.
No.
You make good money. You make phenomenal money, but you can't make near the money. Even closers, I mean, Josh Hader makes, I think, 19. But none of the other closers make, they're not paid like a starter, not even paid like a middle of the road starter.
Right. Yeah.
And so this is among the many things that Max Scherzer has an opinion on.
Yes.
He's very opinionated about bringing back the starting pitcher.
Yeah.
A lot of it is because of, I'm sure, financial considerations. But he recognizes that the game is going away from starters, similar to MLB. And in August, MLB floated the idea that of finding a way to keep starters in the games longer, and it's really interesting. And there's some penalties if you take a guy out before 6 innings or 100 pitches, like if it's
Don't we have
4.
We've got the rules. Some of them with regard to what happens. So you got to have they're again. This isn't even really a proposal yet.
Yeah.
This is kind of spitballing.
Right.
But this is what Major League Baseball is thinking. We got to have him throw 100 pitches, or if he gives up 4, because that's what I was wondering. What if your guy sucks?
Yeah,
because he has to go 6 innings in order to, satisfy the Major League Baseball requirement. Of course, if he gets injured, you can get out. And if you give up more than 4 earned runs, that's also interesting, though.
Yeah,
but gets injured is like on the IL.
Yeah, it's got to be an IL injury.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's not just my
toe hurt.
Yeah. No,
exactly.
it's I think the 4 earned runs thing is an issue because a guy can give up 7 runs and one of them being earned. They probably need to do away with the earned runs thing.
Yeah.
Just because you've seen it snowball before,
right?
Or an error, and then it just the other team gets lit up.
But when Major League Baseball kind of quasi proposed this threw it out there in August, like, of course, all the GMs started weighing in on it and suggesting, well, we don't want to go that drastic. Let's try this or try that. But what MLB would like to do is penalize you if your pitcher doesn't go 6 innings and or reward you if he does. Like, literally one of the proposals was to give draft picks to teams if their starting pitchers compile 900 innings in a season, that type of thing. So.
And I thought I saw, maybe I made this up, losing the DH. If you do take your pitcher out, you get a penalty for the rest of that game.
Yeah.
So that's interesting stuff.
That's a
lot of reasons to.
Yeah.
I mean, if your DH is Shohei Ohtani,
right?
You're gonna want to leave. You're gonna try to hell to leave that pitcher.
My favorite thing on Twitter is it's kind of when this deal broke out, and then it was a really famous picture of Jim Leland ripping a cig. Just watching, it's like him thinking in 1980, should I let my starting pitcher keep throwing 160? Get on out there,
Keep him in there.
Yeah, and ripping
You're
the
fine.
cig,
get out there, young man.
We're good. So those days are definitely no more.
Yeah, no, and it's look, that was probably too much. Now, and that is one other thing too about this. The Major League Baseball believes, and this is almost counterintuitive, Major League Baseball believes that if the starting pitchers go longer, there is a less chance for injury. And it's a sort of backwards mentality. But what it is, they feel like because these guys know they're only going 5 or 5 2/3 or 6 at the most, they're giving max effort on every single pitch.
Right.
And that is putting more pressure on their arm, right? Whereas if they know I got to go 6, I should go 7, or maybe 8, they're not going to give max effort every time. And they feel like it'll have that ancillary effect as well.
It'll trickle down to the minor leagues too, because you will have to pitch train your body to, you have to log more innings so that when you get your call, it's like you've done 6-7 innings before.
Yeah, and by the way, in that the numbers about how the start average for a starting pitcher has gone down in AAA this year, 4.3. Yeah,
it's because of pitch counts, 75 or 80. That's it.
Yeah,
that's not. I mean, okay. Also, think about it. I know that's at the minor league level, but if you're a family and you never like a baseball game is a treat, it's a luxury.
Yeah,
like I know that LeBron's like, I'm gonna play every game because this could be like a single family's like Christmas gift, and what if that's the game that I sit out? What if it's Jacob deGrom Day? This is your first baseball game ever, and eventually he's going to go like 4 innings, and that's just reality. I mean, then I don't know. How much can you really charge for the ticket?
Well, and then Jacob deGrom as the example, there would have to be a rule that safeguard against guys coming off of injury.
Sure, of course. Of course.
They can't go out and throw 100 innings.
No.
But I would imagine that the Players Association would be all for this.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Because, again, the players don't want to see starting pitchers go away.
Yeah.
They really don't, especially not the starting pitchers. So, very interesting. I would love to see something like it. It may be too drastic and too penal at this point for it to be implemented as it was suggested. But that's why they have a Major League Baseball Players Association, too. This stuff is all negotiated. So we'll absolutely keep an eye on that and see if something like that comes to fruition, because I can't say I really love all of this. I mean, I love the chaos. I just don't like the bullpen days. And the reality is they're not sustainable for the simple fact that you do play every day, right?
Yeah.
You can't do this 5 games in a row.
Right.
You just won't have enough pitchers.
It won't work in that 7-game series.
No.
The Prophet really wants us to get to these ads, and I appreciate you. Prophet over there, he's putting that little
polite way
reminder
of stop
for
talking,
us.
everybody.
Put it over my face, So yes, we will do that, and we've got to come back and talk about some really awful situation happening in Major League Baseball last night. It was terrible. We're going to talk about that. We want you to keep chatting with us, keep hanging out. It's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Merch. I'll be so excited if did you get a notice that you're getting your stuff tomorrow?
No, but Bobby.
Oh, Bobby said it.
And I trust Bobby.
I do too.
Yeah.
Bobby's with on our Mavs show.
He said October, and of course we trust Ben.
And Ben said it too. Yeah. So that's fantastic. I am hoping to get maybe if I get mine in time, I'm wearing it up here tomorrow. And if not, we should be wearing a Monday, right?
Oh yeah.
I think they're talking about an ALLCITY app in the chat. I don't think we have an app yet.
Yeah, we don't have an app, Matt. You just got to go to
All DLLS.
if you want to watch us, you got to go to YouTube. But maybe, hey, I don't know.
I bet they're working on an
app. I don't run this company. I just work here.
Yeah, no, this company's forward thinking like I've never seen. They're ahead of the game, so I'm sure they're going to have an app. I'm actually a little surprised they don't.
And Tanner Wilson,
Put in a good word.
My brother from another mother is asking about soccer shows, and I believe we want to do some FC Dallas stuff eventually.
Too.
Yeah, as we grow, as we get more sponsors and stuff, then
Ben got your favorite.
We'll be able to go.
Yeah,
the city skyline.
Oh, yeah. Ben got the one I got. Man, that is so cool, Ben. I'm gonna be
now the DLLS hat. I've told them they need to collab with True Brand. The upside down backwards thing. How sick would that be? Those things sell out all the time. So we're trying to put in a good word with our friends at True Brand.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get them hooked up. I mean, the reality
maybe somebody knows a guy.
Yeah, the reality is True Brand's kind of like, oh, we're doing okay by ourselves, but wait a minute, True Brand, wait and see how successful we are going to be on this thing.
That's right.
We're going to nail it. And so anyway, that's a long way of saying go to the store.allcitynetwork.com. That's where you find the merch. It's almost in your stores. It's almost in your mailbox. So go there, get that, and enjoy the merch like we do.
All right.
How about that horrible scene from Tampa?
Yeah,
I mean,
again, Milton.
Thoughts, prayers, hearts, everything for all those people. I've got a niece who is working for Disney and living in Orlando and had to get off the first floor. She's in a first floor apartment. And she went with some friends of hers up to 3, which we were talking about some of the people who went all the way up to like 65, and all of a sudden the wind's blowing them down. But she was on the 3rd floor, and she did get flooded where she was and had most of her important stuff up off the floor, but it just awful. And by the way, people, her Ring, before it got really bad, her Ring camera thing went off on her phone. Somebody's down there stealing her sandbags.
Really?
She went and got sandbags. Little, 24-year-old, 25-year-old young woman went and got sandbags, and then somebody comes to her door and steals them.
Okay,
but
that's horrible.
Anyway, I think she was probably going to get flooded there as it was. That's in Orlando. But Tampa and Sarasota and those areas were where it really hit hard and where there was a real storm surge. And that the Tropicana Field is, now that Oakland's gone, it's the worst in baseball.
It is. Yeah,
by far.
I was going to make that point. And
it's the worst.
It is.
But now it's even worse. God bless them.
Now it's an open air ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff,
What?
Okay.
What is now an open air ballpark?
It is for the moment.
Yeah. The roof was blown off, basically. The Tropicana Field, which is in St. Petersburg, which is just south of Tampa.
Yeah.
And Braves put out a statement not that long ago that their concern is first with the community, so they're not going to rush to assess the damage. I would imagine that the ballpark inside looks fine, but putting a roof together, they would have 6 months. And you've seen roofs get damaged up north by blizzards and things like that, but just little tears.
Yeah,
not the whole thing being gone. So it could be a work in progress, but the media guide, the Rays media guide says that roof, it's made out of this Teflon material, and it's held up with 180 miles of cables, right? But they said that it was built to withstand winds of 115 miles per hour.
This was like 170.
Right.
Yeah.
That just shows you. They thought of that. They were like 115. We're not going to get a hurricane more than 115.
A Category 6 for Hurricane Milton. I mean, I got into a pretty deep dive of it last night, and meteorologists were crying, saying this storm, you won't make it. And then you get on the side where somebody was saying, if you don't leave, you will die. But then there were so many people sharing the perspective that honestly evacuation is a luxury because hotels and Holiday Inns were charging $1,600 for like 2 nights.
Well, that's against Florida law, and
they were.
Governor DeSantis said if you do that, and he also went after looters and things like that.
But I'm just saying, some people just didn't have the opportunity to leave because of working in a hospital.
And some of them, you may not have a car. I mean,
so many
you
things.
Take mass transit to work. How you
or everyone's in their car. Do you want to be, stuck on the interstate?
Why my niece
would you rather be in your home?
Gas shortages and things like that.
My niece was like, I'm never getting out of here.
I mean, if there is a good thing, it's that the storm hit as a Category 3.
Yeah.
It had lost its power, or
typically
some
once
of its
it
power.
hits land, it
does.
That's
before it hit land, though. It was down.
Oh,
to
it was
3,
already down.
So,
okay, good.
So I think the maximum sustained winds are 3 or like 120 to 130. So it could have been worse.
Yeah.
But the people who went through it, and of course, hurricanes are infamous for spawning tornadoes, and tornadoes are popping up all over the state.
Right.
It apparently is the most tornado warnings issued since
like
2011 in Alabama.
That was really bad.
I don't know if that was the storm that hit
Tuscaloosa
or not.
It might
but
have been. I bet it was.
It was a big, huge outbreak, and but yeah. So I mean, there was. I mean, on the other coast, on the East Coast, there were people. West Palm Beach got hit, for instance, by tornadoes, and people. I think a senior community got hit, and some people died, and so it's just a rough deal going on in Florida right now, and the Rays' problems are the least of the concerns right now, but these storms do hit and impact baseball or people and a lot of players live in Tampa Dolis Garcia lives in Tampa, for instance. So I'm curious to talk to him next time we have his availability. You know, how did you do with the storm and all that?
Yeah. The interesting part too is so many of those people, no matter if you can afford it or not, can't get insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Insuring that. Now, I imagine that the Rays had some sort of an insurance policy on that roof, but that's an interesting, scenario too, in that they're planning on building a new ballpark, but it won't be ready until 2028.
Right.
So obviously now for the next, 3 seasons, 25, 26, 27, you got to have that roof repaired. It rains almost every day. At
Exactly.
6
You
o'clock
don't want that. That does not need to be an open air ballpark because A, it's going to rain every afternoon, and B, it's going to be hot and muggy, and they already have enough attendance issues.
Yeah.
You don't, nobody's going to want to sit in that. I don't want to go sit in that. It's the press box is open air, kind of like the ballpark here now.
Yeah.
So when the roof is open here, we feel the elements, and in Tampa it would be really bad.
Really bad. Yeah. So there's that. And then we want to get to the anniversary. Happy anniversary if you celebrate for Nelly Cruz hitting the first grand slam in a Rangers playoff game.
And I think it was the first walk-off grand slam in MLB history.
MLB history. How about that? And that was, of course, against our beloved Tigers. But, I was rooting for the Rangers that day. I love the Tigers unless they're playing the Rangers. But and Nelly, I mean, it was unbelievable, that series that he had. He was on fire
until Adolis last year and Randy Arozarena in 2020. Nelly was the man.
Yeah.
He set records that postseason because he also would hit a home run in game 3 or 4 at Detroit.
Yep.
That won the game, a late home run, a 3-run homer. And of course, the year before in 10, he had hit the big home run in the 8th inning. It was the 7th inning against the Yankees. So Nelly was built for the postseason, except for one fatal ball hit over his head. But who started game 2? Max Scherzer was the starting pitcher of that game.
That's right.
And pitched 6 innings, allowed 3 runs. I think Derek Holland also started the real. I mean, aside from Nelly, the hero of that game was Scott Feldman. He came in out of the bullpen and pitched really, really well, and kind of held the Tigers at bay and gave the Rangers a chance to stick around that game.
Good friend of mine caught that ball in the stands.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's wealthy, so he didn't sell it. He just, it's mine.
Yeah, keeping it.
He didn't care.
Yeah, it was right down the line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He had.
Did he bring a glove? Or did he just catch it with his hands?
He did. No, he brought a glove. He caught it in a glove. Yeah. So pretty cool. Fun memory of a fun playoff run that the Rangers had that ended not so fun. Yeah.
But 2023 did what they did, and
it's all redeemed.
Yeah. Now you can.
Nobody remembers.
Nope. It's all redeemed. It's all good. It's nice actually that we don't
soften the load a little bit on that too.
Yeah, we don't have to dwell nearly as much on 11.
Because then you say, well,
but 23. Yeah.
But God.
20. That's right. That's right. So
hey, Natalie had another question about some off-season maneuvering potentially. Could the Rangers non-tender Dunning and Tavares? Potentially, yeah. They're both supposed to make between $4 and $5 million this year in arbitration. I don't know that the Rangers are in a position to shed starting pitching right now. Tavares, there are some issues with him, especially against. Well, really, the Rangers. If you look at their outfield stats, offensively, they didn't hit left-handers or right-handers. Everybody's talking about, that's why they got Robbie Grossman to hit left-handers. Their outfielders didn't hit right-handers real well either, so they have some things to address on that side. So I think it's a possibility that Leote could be traded or non-tendered. It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
It's tough because he's such a good center fielder.
Yeah, he
right.
Runs the bases well. Great guy.
Yeah, great attitude in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Great friend to all of them. But yeah, I mean, you've got to produce at the plate, and it's one of the things Nate Lowe has told us. He realizes, he may be bound for somewhere else because you need more power and production out of that position.
Yeah, I'm. If everything's okay with the TV deal, I feel good about Lowe staying on the team. You know, if you take into the fact that he didn't play in April, you're looking at a 20-homer first baseman. Still not great. Guy who gets on base. Guy who won a Gold Glove last year. You can do a lot worse than Nate Lowe.
Yeah.
And then what are the upgrades?
Yeah. Where are you going? Yeah.
Christian Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. But do you want to pay for that? Paul Goldschmidt. Do you want to give a 38-year-old a 1-year deal? As great as he was, he had a terrible year this year.
Yeah.
So
Pete Alonso, but he's gonna get
tons of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Double.
Yeah.
What Nathaniel wants.
Yeah.
And Matt, I don't know how the Rangers will work around blackouts. That's a John Radigan question. I don't know that they can work around the blackouts.
Yeah, I mean, Major League Baseball has said in the context of this same release that said that the Rangers are going to, divorce themselves from Bally, that they are going to work with the teams to make sure that in the local market you can have accessibility, right? Which basically means I think they're going to finally figure out, let's don't black out the games on social media, on the streaming services, on the MLB app. Look, the reason they did that initially is that the TV partners in those markets, the teams, wanted that, right? Mm-hmm. The teams wanted people to watch the game on TV and support them that way. And so Major League Baseball said, well, if you're a Tigers fan, you can watch the Tiger game in Texas, but you can't watch it in Michigan, right? Because if you're in Michigan, we want you to watch on TV. That's essentially the genesis of that rule. But now, as things have changed so much, right? We've evolved so much.
Sometimes I want to watch the game, like if they're on the road and I'm at the gym, but you can't get it on your phone. Like I have to sit on my couch, and it's like, what? 3 hours. I don't want to sit for 3 hours.
I want to do something.
Yeah.
I know.
So it isn't very user-friendly compatible.
No,
in the age of smartphones.
Yeah, and I think at least, I mean, if baseball at least mentioned that, at least they're willing, right, to consider the possibility of allowing that streaming signal to be available to the local market. Yeah. That'd be huge. Yeah. It really would. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. We're over as usual. We've run over time.
And we didn't even get to the Yankees.
We never mentioned the Yankees. They were great.
Yankees won.
Yeah.
All right.
They won, and they're and that's going back to New York.
No. They got one other game.
Oh, that's right.
Kansas City tonight.
Today, yeah.
But the Yankees could.
But they've got Garrett Cole today.
Yeah. No, it was juicy. I'm sad.
Cole's pitching today.
And Yankees have a pretty good record in the elimination games.
I bet they do.
So.
Yeah. All right. So
we'll save it for tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'll let you know what happened. We'll talk about the Tigers. Could it be the Tigers and the Yankees in the ALCS? That could be decided today. So we'll see. We'll find out. And you will too. You'll know before we do, or maybe at the same time. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.